few months after he was brought to the Sodor Steamworks, Smudger was finally restored to his former glory. When he reached Crovin's Gate, all of the narrow gauge engines were there to greet him. Duncan and most of the other engines were happy to see him except Duke Peter Salmon's handle. Peter Salmon's handle knew what kind of troublemaker Smudger was from Duke's stories which he told them many years ago. What Duke didn't tell them was that back in the old days, Stanley and Smudger had a big grudge with one another. The two engines had battled over being which one of them should be MSR's number 2, which eventually ended with Smudger being turned into a generator and Stanley into a pumping engine, which they blamed each other for. Now it seemed the old grudge was revived when Smudger returned. Stanley and Smudger glared at one another. That night, most of the other little engines were away doing late night shifts, but Stanley and Smudger were left alone in the shed. Smudger spoke up.
"I'm shocked to see you back in service, Yankee. You're a danger on the rails,"
said Smudger nastily. Stanley took offense to this.
"I should say the same thing to you, slimeball. Y'all should have stayed a generator like you were supposed to be. At least I was trying to be careful, even if my original wheels didn't help," growled Stanley.
"Bah! I was more suitable to be mid-Sodor Railways 2 than you."
"Oh yeah, sure. You were very suitable, Smudger. Just like when you derailed over 10 to 20 times."
Smudger hated being beaten, so he thought of something very hurtful.
"At least I didn't doom the MSR by failing, leading to flooding the last slate mine."
Stanley stopped and went dead silent then. That was one fact that he could not ignore, and it haunted him up to this very day. The workmen back then never bothered to repair him, but he still felt dreadfully guilty, even if it wasn't his fault.
"I think I've made my point. Now you'd better stay out of my way when I'm helping Duncan tomorrow. Good night."
With that, Smudger went to sleep feeling smug, leaving Stanley to go sadly to sleep and riddled with guilt. The next day, Smudger, Duncan and Stanley were working at the slate quarry. Duncan liked Smudger a lot, for he was reckless like he was, such as bashing the trucks around and going fast around sharp bends. Smudger started showing off.
"Bet I could get a train together quicker than that rusty red Yankee could."
With that, Smudger started collecting all of the trucks he could find, making a line of 7 trucks, pushed them up to the incline and went on to the other track, where he waited for the loaded trucks to come down. But he was closer than he should have been. He passed the safety line. Duncan and Stanley knew, but Duncan thought Smudger already knew that, and Stanley was hoping to get some payback for the argument last night. The loaded trucks at the top spotted a chance for trickery. When they saw that the winch couldn't pull 7 empty slate trucks up the incline.
"Break it! Snap it!"
And they did. With a loud snap, they rocketed down the incline towards Smudger, who was very surprised. Smudger's driver pulled the reverser backwards and opened the regulator as quickly as he could, and Smudger raced backwards with the loaded trucks following close behind.
"Can't go any faster. They're going to catch us."
The trucks caught up with Smudger, laughing and pushing him faster and faster. There was trouble ahead. Hugh was waiting at the level crossing with a train of vans waiting for Trevor to cross. Come on, I haven't got all the... Smudger smashed into Hugh's vans, crushing a few of them, and slate from the loaded trucks flew everywhere, along with debris from the broken vans. Smudger's crew had jumped clear before the crash, but Smudger had crushed his cab and felt dazed and surprised.
"Bust my boiler! I wasn't expecting this."
Hugh puffed away with the remnants of his train. Duke and Stanley were having their joints oiled. Stanley told Duke about what Smudger had said. Just then, the yard manager came up. Smudger has had an accident at the level crossing. Stanley must go and rescue him. But Stanley was indignant.
No way! I'm not gonna rescue him! He can just stay there if he knows what's good for him!
Duke was cross.
I'm ashamed of you, Stanley. You have always been a kind-hearted engine. You weren't responsible for the MSR closing. You know that. Smudger was only trying to hurt you. But you are both engines, and we must all pull together.
Duke's words had touched Stanley.
I'm sorry, Duke. You're right. I must help Smudger home.
When he arrived, he found Smudger looking sad and feeling sorry for himself.
Trucks can be troublesome. It wasn't your fault.
I'm sorry I was so rude to you, Stanley. The others were right about you. You are indeed a good engine.
What say we put this all behind us and be friends?
Stanley helped Smudger to the repair yard. The Thing controller spoke sternly to Smudger about the accident. And from that day on, Smudger and Stanley have been firm friends, and they, along with Duke, Peter, Sam and Sir Handel, went along to reminisce about the good old days of the Mid-Sodor Railway.